sermon on Sunday, and the president is announced, and then the minister says, and you know, this is the same George Bush who doesn't care if kids have health care, who's destroying Social Security, who got us in a war we didn't belong in, but compared to Dick Cheney, he is a saint. But we won't have any Dick Cheney and Bush jokes to tell anymore, because there are going to be changes, folks. And we hear a lot about that word change, and I have a sign in my office that says, you are the change you want the world to be. And that's what I've tried to keep in my mind in my 20 years of a law practice, helping average Missourians with tough problems, and standing with children in some of the most gut-wrenching and tough cases as their lawyer in child abuse trials.